Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, or good evening, whatever works for you. But excited to have you all join us here today for our summer orientation webinar. My name is Rosemary Dowling. I'm the Director of Campus Life, and I'm very, very excited to welcome our new entering students and our new family members to our Berkeley community. Today, we're going to go through some information for you. We'll kind of go through everything you need to know to be prepared to arrive to join us in May. And then at the end, we'll have some time for some questions. So if you are confused about anything as we go through the presentation, please make sure you are either using the Q&A function, which is on the bottom or top of your screen, wherever your menu bar is. There should be a Q&A button. So feel free to use that throughout the presentation. We will save most of those answers till the end, but if you want to ask a question as we go through things so you don't forget, feel free to use that as we go forward. All right, we can begin with our next slide, please. So today, we're going to go through a lot of information for you. It can be a little bit overwhelming for some folks, so we are recording this. We'll be able to send it out for you. So if you miss something, you can watch it again later, or if you get a little bit closer, you want to make sure you didn't miss anything, you'll have that ability to do so. So we're going to start. We're going to go through. We'll do a quick introduction of the team, and then we'll move forward to give you an overview of what student orientation for our Berklee College of Music students will look like, and what our orientation for our family members looks like. And then we'll move through some important dates and deadlines to make sure that you have done everything you need to do before you get here to make sure that you're ready to go to get your class schedule and to get started right away. We'll talk about how to prepare to arrive and also for your audition. And then we'll talk about just ways that you can get involved on campus. We'll have a short presentation for some of our international students with some specific things that you'll need to do in addition to some of those other pre-arrival steps. And then we'll end with a Q&A. So at the end, if you have questions, like I said, we'll go through and answer those for you. Our team is largely a team of generalists, so we can answer a lot of questions from a very general standpoint. If there are questions that are really specific or very focused on your personal situation, we will likely refer you out for some answers to that information. So just be mindful that we're going to do our best to make sure you have kind of the general information that you need, and then we can refer you to the right folks if you have some more detailed questions that you're going to need answered. All right, so with that, as I said, my name is Rosemary Dowling. I'm the Director of Campus Life, which means I have the privilege of getting to work with our Orientation and Family Programs team. And I also work with our Student Involvement team that does our clubs, activities, and events on campus. So all the fun stuff, and really getting to just kind of hang out and chat with you all, which makes me the best job on campus, in my opinion. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lauren, to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Glazer. I use she, series pronouns. I work with Rosemary and the rest of the Campus Life team, serving as the Associate Director of New Student and Family Programs. So what that means is I get to work with orientation, plan the schedule, support our community connectors, which are upper semester student leaders, and get to work with all of our incoming students and our Berkeley parents and families. So excited to be here today and excited to share more information about what to expect for summer orientation and answer any questions that you all have. I did see there was already a question in there about the chat, if this information pertains to fall orientation. This session is specifically preparing for all of our admitted students who are starting in the summer. So summer orientation is May 16th, when we'll certainly do another one of these webinars for any students who are starting in the fall semester. So excited to be here today and chat with you more about summer orientation.
Great, thanks, Lauren. And we do have a few other colleagues that are here behind the scenes, so you'll meet them a little bit later in the presentation as well. Great, so we're going to start with an overview of the program. So as I mentioned, we have both a new student orientation and a family orientation, and we'll get into the specifics of what that includes a little bit later. We have what we call Welcome Week and how to get involved on campus. So we want to make sure that you have friends, that you're connected, that you are able to find things to do outside of your classes. Summer in Boston is one of the best times to be here, so there's lots to do and lots to explore. So we'll talk a little bit about all the different ways we'll make sure you get involved as soon as you arrive. And then again, we'll go through some information specific to international students, and then we'll come back and talk about some next steps and some other parts of the program. All right, so this is an overview of our student orientation program. So again, these components are just for our students, and what to expect. So orientation week is a full week of welcome for you all. It begins on Monday, May 16th. If you are living on campus, it will start with you moving into the residence halls. If you're living off campus, we'll have a kickoff event. That will be the first thing on your schedule. You'll be able to check that out. And it's really focused on a few different things. So it's an opportunity for you to build community, to meet other students, to meet your faculty, to meet some of the staff on campus that are going to be working with you, and just to kind of get acclimated to the campus. We'll do some tours and some general, things you need to know to be successful. But we'll also give you opportunities to build those connections, whether that's through performances with jam sessions, open mics, social events like tours of Boston or going on an adventure to find the best ice cream, whatever those things might be. We'll give you lots of opportunities to connect and explore both the campus and the city. And then we'll also do some of those required things like your placement auditions, making sure you get your class schedules, and all the things you need to start your first day of classes the following week. And in order to help you navigate all of those things, you're going to use what we call the Cadence Orientation app. And so you'll get access to that in a minute. You'll see a slide that tells you how to register for that. That will be where you kind of go to get all of your information for the week. So you'll get the schedule in there, all the information about where you need to go and when. You'll have some information in there in terms of resources that are available to you. And you'll also be able to connect with other entering students in there. So there's a whole live feed where you'll be able to post photos as you're kind of exploring the city and being able to connect with each other. And we also do some fun competitions and different things in there as well. So it's a good resource to have, and it's a really necessary resource to have. So make sure that when we get to that slide, you take a moment to scan the QR code to make sure you register for that so you can get all the information as soon as possible. And then we also have our resource guide. So we have a guide that's really meant to help kind of pull all of that information that's out there and put it into a little bit of an easier to digest format for you. So there's one for students, and there's also a resource guide for families. So we'll show you what that looks like a little bit later in the presentation. But that's really your opportunity to see like all the different services and things that are out there in one place. So it walks you through what you might need to know, and it's also something you can refer back to. So it's a PDF download that you'll have. It has links, so it'll be able to take you to, so you can explore further information, and it really helps you walk through all the things you need to know in terms of services and things that we offer here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, who's going to talk to you a little bit about family orientation.
All right, so our family orientation program, I'm going to share a little bit more information about. And then I will pause our screen and have Natalie share with you what the resource guide looks like. But essentially, we know that not all parents and families are able to travel to Boston and join in for family orientation. So everything that families need to know about Berkeley and about the first year experience and the different resources that are available for your students are all available in a need to know guide. So in our family resource guide. So I'll have Natalie pause here and we'll pull that up really quick. But you should be able to see on the screen what our family resource guide looks like. It's designed in a playbill fashion, so a little bit more fun and very Berkeley oriented. And so this is really your one-stop shop for Berkeley parents and families to find out everything there is to know about different resources. So as you can see, there are different links to content. All of these links will go towards our website, which is where the most updated information lives. So if there's anything within this resource guide that's changed or been modified a little bit, you will just click on the link and that will bring you to a public-facing website, and you can learn more about anything Berkeley related here. So like Rosemary said, Natalie, we can go back to the presentation now. Thank you. Like Rosemary said, there is a student resource guide that's similar to this as well, but these are the resources that we put together for parents and families. So highly recommend you all to start going through that resource guide now and reviewing information. We also have our Berkeley Families website as well. So essentially everything lives online for you to know and to get oriented to Berkeley before you arrive. For those of you who are able and willing to come to the Berkeley campus in Boston during summer orientation, we're going to have less sessions that are focused on information, but it's going to be more of an opportunity to attend socials and receptions. We will have a headquarters area. So if you want to swing by and meet myself or Rosemary or anyone on the rest of the team in person, we'll be here. We'll also be doing some campus tours. We're going to have a resource fair. So there's more opportunities for you to meet other faculty and staff and students, but it's going to be less focused on information about the resources that Berkeley offers. There is a note in here. The institution is still ironing out all of our details around COVID and navigating those policies. So as of right now, we are going to ask to potentially show proof of a COVID-19 vaccination. And then for anyone who is not vaccinated, we are going to ask for them to remain masked if they are here with us on campus. So those details are still being ironed out, and we'll share more information soon, but that is where the institution is at right now. Okay, so.
Sorry, Lauren, can I interrupt you just one second,
Yeah,
just to highlight, if we could go back to that last slide, just as we're going through things, you'll see the QR codes on some of these slides. So if we're talking about a link at any point, there should be a QR code on that page. So if you scan that QR code on the top of this right slide, that should take you to the link that we're talking about. We will also send out those links in some other information as well. But if you're really interested, you want to explore right now, anytime you see those QR codes on the slide, that's what it's taking you to. Great.
Great. Thanks, Rosemary. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Great, so I'm going to jump back and talk a little bit more about Welcome Week and how to get involved on campus. So this information is for students. Orientation is a week long, so it is May 16th to May 20th, like Rosemary shared. And then the first week of class is May 23rd to the 27th. So during the first week of class, we're going to have something called Welcome Week. So this is an opportunity during the first week of classes for students to continue to get involved on campus. We'll have a variety of different events and programs that our office puts on. A few different sessions that we'll have are trivia and board games, jam sessions and open mics, tie-dye and ice cream. It's a great time to be in Boston this summer, and the weather we are hoping will be lovely. So want to get outside as much as possible. We'll have grocery bingo, different caffeine pop-ups throughout the day. So there will be a lot going on campus during that first week of class. So definitely stay tuned for more information about all of the events that we are planning. Great, so our community connectors, you may have heard this term and you may have seen some more information on our website, but our community connectors are our student leaders. So they work in our office in the Center for Campus Life, and they are the student leader that will be working with all incoming students this summer. So every single new student who's starting in the summer term is going to be assigned to a small group with other entering students during orientation week. Group sizes will be about anywhere from 12 to 20 students, and you'll meet daily with your community connector group, and that's really your opportunity to ask questions about Berkeley and start making friends and start making those connections within the community. So your community connector will be reaching out about a week prior to orientation week beginning, and we'll send you a welcome email and then share details about where your first meeting will be. And you can start asking any questions and meeting your group members a week before orientation begins. So we're excited. We have a great group of student leaders working with us this summer, and are looking forward to meeting them. Okay, so Rosemary talked about our orientation app a little bit earlier, and this QR code does go to the registration form. This is for entering students only. So entering students, check your email if you haven't received information about this yet. the admissions area did send out the registration link, and it's also on our website as well. But Natalie, if you want to pause the presentation, we can show what our orientation app looks like. So we are really excited about this app. So students should have already registered for it already. If you haven't, just go ahead and register now via the QR code or on our website. We're giving you a sneak preview of what this looks like now. The app will launch also a week before orientation begins, but it's already built and ready to go. So this is a sneak peek of our app and what to expect. So this is the main page. If we want to click on the schedule, I'll show you a sneak peek of what the schedule looks like, starting with move-in. And so you can see that the schedule is already complete and ready to go. But there is a desktop version for students to keep up on their computers. And then there's also an app on anyone's mobile device that you can download and add all of these great events to your schedule during orientation week. We also have a resources section in here as well. So this is a great area to check out once the app launches a week before you arrive. And it is an opportunity to start learning about those Berkeley resources and getting acclimated to campus. So if you're looking for a campus map or want to know how the practice rooms function, or have questions about the Career Center and what their office offers, there are plenty of resources in here, so you can start getting acclimated to the institution and getting excited for orientation week and what to expect in your first year. So more information about the app will be shared soon, but definitely students go ahead and register if you haven't already. Okay, we'll go back to our presentation. Great. So we have a speed friending event coming up. So if you've checked out our website, you can find the registration link on the summer orientation website. If not, this lovely QR code at the top of the screen will go directly to our website. If you scroll down halfway to the page, you'll find the registration link for speed friending. And so this is an event that we wanted to offer in about 2 weeks for our entering students, to give them an opportunity to meet other students who are also starting in the summer term. So this session will be led by some of our community connectors, and it's really just an opportunity for other new students to start meeting their peers that will be starting at the same time as them. And to build those connections a couple weeks before orientation even begins. So if this is something that's of interest to you and you're jazzed and ready to meet other entering students, certainly register and sign up for this event. It will be on Wednesday, April 27th at 12 p.m. That's 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So depending on where you are joining us from, just make sure that you join in the correct time zone. And if you have any questions about what speed friending is and what the event will entail, or if you just need help registering, you can email us at nsfp@berkeley.edu, and that stands for New Student and Family Programs. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about next steps and what you should be working on before you arrive in a few short weeks. Some of those items include check-in restrictions, which hopefully you are working on and getting that information sent to you at your Berkeley email address. We'll talk about residential move-in and the COVID vaccine next steps. Go to the next slide. Great. So what students should be working on right now is clearing what we call your check-in restrictions. So there is a next steps task list for all students to be working on. before orientation begins. So these are really things that you should be taking care of before you even arrive for orientation week, because we want, when you're here during orientation, to be able to join in on orientation week activities and start meeting friends and building those connections. We don't want you to get here and realize that you didn't submit your immunizations, or if you have an outstanding bill, and then you're taken out of orientation week to try to finish up all of these restrictions that are still outstanding. So just want to make sure that all students know there is a next steps page and a portal. So you should be able to track anything that's outstanding for you coming up. There are a few due dates that I do want to mention. The most recent due date that just passed was April 8th. So immunization forms were due to Magnus Health. So you should have received email communication about this with directions on how to access the Magnus Health portal. So if you haven't already, just make sure you get your immunization forms in as soon as possible. Your next upcoming deadline is going to be the tuition bill. That's going to be due on May 4th. And then May 9th, there is something called an entering student proficiency assessment, what we call the ESPA. This is an online test that you need to take in order to place you into your correct harmony and your correct courses. So these are a few upcoming dates that we have. You can also go to the accepted students next steps for enrollment webpage, which was sent to you in to your Berkeley email address to make sure that you are getting all of your check-in restrictions complete before you arrive. Okay, so for anyone who is living on campus this summer, the on-campus move-in is also going to be on Monday, May 16th, the first day of orientation. You should already know if you are living on campus or not. Information was sent to students on April 1st, confirming whether they received housing or not. And then most recently, last week, all summer housing students received their assignment, so they should know what building they're living in and who their roommate is. So if you haven't received that information yet, certainly let us know and we can help you get connected to our housing team. You can also connect with housing at berkeley.edu. I wanted to share a quick note about the mail center as well, really quick. Sorry. So the mail center is located on Boylston Street, but essentially the mail center cannot take any packages up to a week before move-in begins. So if you have packages that you want to send, don't send them now. Wait a couple of weeks so that they arrive right before move-in, just because the mail center can't hold packages for that long of a time. And then I did include the mailing address as well, since we typically get a lot of questions about where to send packages and mail. Okay, go to the next slide. Great, and I'll turn it back over to Rosemary to talk more about the audition process.
Great, thanks, Lauren. All right, so as part of your orientation week, all of our students will participate in their audition, and we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, when that will be, and how you can prepare for it. So next slide, please, Natalie. Great. So the process that we're going to go through is kind of two parts: how you prepare for your audition, what you can expect, and then how to reach out if you have any questions. The actual auditions will take place during that week, but there's some things you're going to want to do before you arrive. So if we'll go to the next slide. All right, so the actual auditions are going to take place on May 17th. So all of the entering students will be here in Boston. You should arrive on the 16th with us for orientation. We'll start there, and then on the 17th, you'll be assigned your audition time. You'll get information about what time your audition is at. They are scheduled for you, and you'll have that information. In order to prepare for that, there's what we call an audition packet. And so on our website, which again, the QR code is here for you, you'll be able to go through based on your instrument and find the correct audition packet. Each audition looks a little bit different. So when we talk about, those questions that I said you might have about certain things, like this is one of those where Lauren and I are probably not the best folks to answer your specific questions about, can you have this backtrack? Can you bring this kind of thing? Those are great questions for your chairs, which we'll have on the next slide and for you in a moment. But the audition packet, you should definitely go through first. Make sure you read through that. It will tell you what you need to prepare. It will talk a little bit about what's going to be expected of you in terms of sight reading and kind of any type of reading, ear training exercises, any depending on your instrument. If you're doing percussion, there might be something about how your timing is tracked. So they'll do a lot of different things with you depending on your instrument. So the first step is you're going to go to the website and you're going to download the audition packet for your instrument. You're going to focus on your prepared piece. It will have the instructions for each instrument in terms of what they're looking for that prepared piece. And then we'll have the rest of that information as well. You want to make sure you're prepared, right? So you want to make sure that you have everything packed up and ready to go for you. If you have your backtrack, you've tested it, you want to have it downloaded so that you're not relying on Wi-Fi or anything like that. And you're going to bring all of that with you. You want to make sure you arrive at least 15 minutes early so you know where you are, you're ready to go. Any warm-ups or instrument tuning you need to do, you'll need to do that in advance. So you want to do that while you're waiting. And then once you get in there, just remember to breathe. So these, you're already accepted to Berklee. This is not a, there's not a failure in terms of this. This is a placement audition. So this is to help us make sure that you are in the correct level of courses, and it will help us put your schedule together. So you don't want to, put too much pressure on yourself on this, because like I said, you can't fail it, but you do want to make sure you're presenting, what you can do, because it's it will help us place you in certain courses. And so that's kind of the plan there. You want to make sure, like I said, you go through that audition packet. It will definitely have a lot of the questions that you have about it. And then if you can't find an answer, if we can go to the next slide, these are the folks that you'll get in touch with. So all of this is also on the website, but so you don't have to take a picture of this or anything like that. But if you have questions, some instruments or areas will have you reach out to your instrument department as a department. Some will have you reach out to a chair. So it varies depending on your instrumental department. So you want to make sure you check this on who you can reach out to. Again, I would go through all of the materials first to make sure your question is not answered in the audition packet. And then if you still have further questions, these are the folks you can reach out to. You will get assigned your audition times. Like I said, you don't have to reach out to them about setting it up or anything like that. They'll connect with you so you know where to go. But this is if you have questions about the audition. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague in a moment, but just want to make sure this is a specific stuff for international students that might be joining us today. We will go back to our larger group conversation. So if you're a domestic student, please don't leave. Stay with us. If you're a family, also stay with us. It's kind of interesting information anyway, but we're going to take a quick hiatus to talk about some steps that are specific for our international students that are going to join us. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Andrea from International Student Services.
Hi, thank you, Rosemary. Hi, all international students and domestic students. I am the Associate Director of International Student Services, and I wanted to share a bit of information to our international students about what to expect when you arrive in the US and how to clear the ISS check-in restrictions. Okay, Natalie, next slide. So when you arrive at the US airport, you're going to be sent to US Customs and Border Protection. Some students may go through a pre-clearance process prior to boarding the flight to the US. In some locations like Canada, Ireland, UAE, and others. However, most students will complete the clearance process upon arriving in the US. It is very important that you carry the following documents or the documents on the screen with you, that you put them in your carry-on, you do not check them in your luggage. You want to make sure that you have a valid passport for at least 6 months into the future as of the date you're entering the US. So be sure you check the expiration of your passport. You could be denied entry to the US if your passport is valid for less than 6 months. So that's why we want you to check that. You should also have a valid go back, please. Yeah, stay there. You should also have a valid F1 visa issued by the embassy or consulate in your home country. That passport holders of Bermuda and Canada, you don't have to worry about the visa. You'll also need your printed I-20. You should print it and sign it and show a paper copy at the port of entry, and proof of I-901 payment, and that's that SEVIS fee that you have to pay to the US government. We also recommend that you carry a copy of your Berkeley or conservatory acceptance letter, the proof of financial support to cover your educational and living expenses, and the address where you're going to stay in the US. So this could be your campus housing, it could be a friend's address, or if you don't have a specific place that you're staying yet, it could be the hotel or hostel that you're staying at. You should also carry the name of your international advisor, your DSO. Now, the name of your advisor, the person who issued the I-20, is printed on the I-20 at the top. So that's there for you. But you also want to have our email address, which is really, really easy. It's iss@berkeley.edu, so International Student Services. And we also, our phone number, so the college's phone number, and it could be the admissions office phone number. All right, so the next slide. All right, so when you are speaking with the Customs and Border Patrol officer, he's going to ask to look at your passport, your visa, and your I-20. So the officer has just like a minute or two to decide whether or not he's going to admit you into the US, or if he's going to send you to something called secondary inspection. Most students will be admitted to the US in F1 status. But if the officer has a question or there's something that he doesn't understand, he might send you to secondary inspection. This is common, so remain calm if you are sent to secondary inspection. It's at this location that you might have to show those additional documents on that previous slide, like your acceptance letter, proof of funding, your DSO contact information. And then they might just ask you more questions about why you chose Berkeley. Now, most ports of entry, you can see an image on the slide, will place a port of entry stamp in your passport. And we want you to look in your passport to see if they've done that, because you'll need to submit an image of that to us. Now, if they don't worry, because some ports of entry no longer put the stamp in your passport, but you will be able to go to the Custom and Border Patrol webpage and download the information. Okay, so for the next slide. All right, so to ensure that our students are aware of what the F1 regulations are and that you were admitted in F1 status as opposed to like a tourist status, the International Student Services has placed 3 restrictions on your account. So if you haven't already done so, it's very easy to find the check-in restriction information placed on your account by International Student Services and how to clear it. So what you want to do, and you can see on the page, is you want to type in, you want to go to the Berkeley EDU webpage and type in international check-in in the search bar. All right, next slide. And you're going to click on the first result, which is entering and returning international student check-in requirements. Next slide. All right, so on this, you can see the 3 items that we're asking entering and returning students to complete as part of their check-in process. Now, you can go to the next slide. So the first 2 items you can submit today or as soon as you have your visa. And again, Canadian and Bermudian passport holders, you do not need a visa. The team in ISS will remove this requirement prior to the beginning of check-in for you. Everybody else needs to fill out that F1 acknowledgement form and the visa information and submit a copy of your visa. The third item is the port of entry information. So you must wait to arrive in the US before you can submit it. I know that on the screenshot, it says that it can take up to 72 hours for us to clear it. But just be aware that during check-in, we clear these restrictions much quicker. We have 3 advisors who check the restrictions page and submissions throughout the day, Monday through Friday, and 1 advisor who looks at it over the weekend. So we are aware that this is time sensitive, and we're going to work with you to try to clear them as quickly as possible. Knowing that, don't wait to submit it. Please clear whatever you can as soon as you have the information so we can help you check in quickly. All right, the next slide. So if the officer at the port of entry doesn't put the stamp in your passport, I had mentioned that you can download the information from the Customs and Border Patrol webpage. This is an image of where on the webpage you can get that information. So you're just going to select Get Most Recent I-94. You don't need to save a screenshot of this image because on our submission form where we ask you to submit it, these instructions are there. It gives you the link to this web page and the instructions on how to download it. But I just wanted to make sure you saw Get Most Recent I-94. All right, next slide. Okay, and on the more fun side, we have a few sessions planned for Orientation Week and Welcome Week that I wanted to highlight. The first is that we're hosting a meet and greet on Wednesday evening, which is a great chance to meet other incoming international students, the enrollment officers that have been helping you throughout your time through admissions, and the ISS staff. It's going to be casual. It's going to be, it's just going to be fun, and I hope you all come. The second 2 sessions are the orientation information sessions held on Thursday and Friday mornings. They are mandatory, but they're very important because we want to make sure that you know how to maintain your status and what you can and cannot do while you're in the US, and how to get your questions answered. Like we're here to answer your questions. So we want you to know how to get in touch with us. And that's what those 2 orientation sessions are going to be. In addition to these 3 sessions, a staff member from the International Student Service area will be attending the Family Resource Fair that's scheduled for Tuesday. So we'll be there to answer questions and give out information. So I hope you'll stop by and say hi then. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to ISS. Our email address is so easy to remember. It's International Student Services, so it's ISS@berkeley.edu. And thank you very much for your time. And I'm going to pass it back to Rosemary and Lauren.
Great, thank you, Andrea. So before we open it up for some questions, I just wanted to share a few next steps, which we already talked about, but any information about move-in has already been sent. So if you're looking for information about on-campus housing, check your email. Otherwise, reach out to us or housing@berkeley.edu. And then, as I shared earlier, we're still ironing out details about the COVID-19 vaccine and any testing protocols. So all that information, it will be shared in the next few weeks. So make sure you are checking your Berkeley email on a regular basis. Parents and families, we have sent out 1 newsletter communication so far. So if you received that, great, be on the lookout for our next communication. If you have not received it, 2 things could have happened. It could be in your spam folder, so check there first. If not, email us at nsfp@berkeley.edu and we'll double check to find if you're on our list or not, and then we'll add you to our list so you get upcoming communications. And then our enrollment tasks. So for students, you should really be working on this in the next few weeks. So be sure to check your enrollment tasks on your accepted students next page. And if you have any questions or need help navigating that, we are here to help. So just reach out to us at nsfp@berkeley.edu and we can get you connected to the right people so you can get those things complete before you arrive. And then the final thing is our speed friending event for students. So just make sure you register for that. And we look forward to having you meet the rest of our incoming students in a couple of weeks. So I will turn it over to some question and answers now. So if you have any questions, this wraps up our webinar for today. So certainly put them into the question and answer chat box, and we can take turns going back and forth on any questions that you may have.
So far, it's pretty slow in the question box. So I think that means we did a pretty good job with our information. I'm gonna read into that, but that's the reasoning. We'll hang out for a few more moments in case there are any questions. And if you do think of anything else, feel free to let us know. While we're waiting, Natalie, if we can go to the last slide so that you can see parents and families, we do have a Facebook page. So if you want to follow us there, it's Facebook @Berkeley Families. There is another family page that is not monitored by Berkeley. It's a kind of parent-to-parent resource. I believe it's called the Berkeley Parent Network. So that one is a great resource if you're looking for a perspective from other families. But if you want to be up to date on all the different deadlines, things that come up throughout time, if you have questions that you need a very specific answer for, our Facebook page is there for families. So it's @Berkeley Families. We also have our email address and our website, which are great resources. For new students, our Instagram is really our best place for you to be following us. It's @Berkeley Campus Life. We do a lot of giveaways on our Instagram. We just had a really successful one where we were giving out some Girl Scout cookies, thanks to our colleague Natalie. So lots of great things there. But you can also email us if you're having a hard time getting answers to anything before you arrive. If you feel like you don't know who to reach out to about something, you just have any general kind of concerns or anxiety about your arrival, feel free to reach out to us at nsfp@berkeley.edu. It stands for New Student and Family Programs. And then we also have our student orientation page. All right, I talked enough that we did get some questions to come in, so I will go ahead. We'll take the slides down so you can kind of see us a little bit better, and we'll do some of these questions.
There are a few questions coming in just about fall deadlines. We will be doing a similar webinar like this for any student and family member who is starting in the fall term. So stay tuned to your email. Admissions has been communicating with our students starting in the fall semester. So we encourage students to keep checking their email and following any instructions that are sent that way. Parents and families, if you have any question about fall, we will be sharing more information with you soon. But if you have any questions in the meantime, again, feel free to reach out to us now at nsfp@berkeley.edu, and we're more than happy to get you your answers to any questions that are coming in. Rosemary, do you want to see? It looks like there's a few questions about housing. Do you want to talk about what's typically provided in a residence hall room?
Sure. So there's a few questions about housing. Is there any more housing available for summer? That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure where they're at in terms of a wait list. Typically, housing is highly in demand. So I would recommend, if you have not heard about housing, you did have to apply for it. So if you didn't apply for housing at this point, I would reach out to housing@berkeley.edu as soon as possible to see if there's still any options for you there. If you haven't gotten your roommate information yet, I believe we did confirm that information should have gone out already. So if you don't have that, I would reach out again to housing@berkeley.edu. I would check your spam folder first and just make sure you're checking both your personal email and also your Berkeley email, because sometimes some of those things, depending on where we are in the cycle, can go to a few different places. So I would check both of your emails and both of your spam filters. If you still don't have it, I would reach out to housing@berkeley.edu. In terms of what's in the room, all rooms will come with a bed, a desk, and a dresser, and some type of closet. So you'll have access to that per each person in the room. So there will be one bed, one desk, one dresser, and one closet for everyone that is assigned to that room. And then that's pretty much the things that are provided in the room. Depending on your specific room, some have private bathrooms, some have shared bathrooms in the hallway. So there's a little bit of variety there. Anything like a specific to that, you can definitely check with the housing team. On the housing website, which is just, if you go to berkeley.edu/housing, it will take you there. There's some frequently asked questions in terms of what you need to bring, what's prohibited, all of those different things. So I would definitely check that out. And again, they'll be communicating directly with you in terms of where you go for move-in and all that other information about housing. All right. I saw a question here about what's the first thing you do when you arrive. So first thing you want to do when you arrive is going to depend on whether you're living on campus or off campus. And then it's going to also probably depend on whatever the final decision is about COVID protocols. So we still don't have that exact information yet, but it will be listed for you in the Cadence app. So whatever the first thing you need to do will be on the schedule in your app. So make sure you're, again, registering for the Cadence app. So as soon as it is live, you have access to that. If you need to go to a specific place to test for campus, again, we're not sure if that's what they're going to be doing or not, but if there is something you need to do, it will be listed there as the first thing on your schedule. So just make sure you keep an eye there as we get closer. We'll also send that information out, but just make sure you're kind of paying attention to those last minute changes.
And in terms of our first event of orientation, we're actually going to have a welcome event for all students and families at 3 o'clock on May 16th. So that will be your first orientation event. But like Rosemary said, there may be a few other things that you have to do first in terms of your arrival.
All right. I'm seeing information about not having your Berkeley email. If you still don't have your Berkeley email, I would reach out to your admissions counselor to see where you are in that cycle. Sometimes depending on, if you've deposited and all those different things, there is a delay in how long it takes sometimes for you to get those things. But if you feel like you should have that information and you're not having it yet, I would definitely reach back out to your admissions counselor to see if they can help you navigate that. Typically the information on how to set up your Berkeley email would go to whatever email you used on your application. So I would again check your spam folder to see if you have that information. You are provided a Berkeley email address and they will give you the link for how to set that up, including how to set up your temporary or your password once you have all that. So definitely check that out. And if you have any questions, your admissions counselor will be helpful for there.
There's a question here on if families should stay for all of orientation week or not. Again, we don't have a family orientation program per se. Everything will be delivered in advance and online. However, we do have a few different receptions, socials, resource fairs, and campus tours available for parents and families. So any family member who's interested in participating, those are going to be on May 16th and May 17th. And our exact schedule will be shared soon and posted on our website. But no, families do not need to stay for all of orientation week. If you do come to the Boston area, only May 16th and May 17th are the dates that we have different events and programs for you all.
Great. Again, this is mostly for our entering summer students, but I do see one question about deadlines for fall international students. Andrea, I'm not sure on the specific question. The deposit deadline for our fall students is May 1st, so that's an important one. If anyone is here for fall, you want to make sure that you have that one. But are there any other deadlines, Andrea, for fall entering students that they might want to be aware of that you know of right now?
So the only other deadline is just to arrive on time for check-in, and students who are working, who haven't been accepted yet and haven't received their I-20 to apply for the visa should begin working with the admissions team, EO at berkeley.edu. That's enrollmentofficer@berkeley.edu as soon as possible. So that way the I-20 can be issued and the visa process can begin.
Great, thank you. And there's a question for, so a domestic student who has either studied internationally or has lived abroad for a long time, is the international orientation for them as well?
Actually, no, our international orientation is really geared towards the immigration regulations, what can and cannot be done on the F1 regulations. The overall new student family programs events really help students from all over the world grow accustomed and get used to Berkeley and life in the US. So if you are a US citizen, you are considered a domestic student.
Great, thank you so much. Some other questions about textbooks, which is a great question. You will get your course schedule during orientation week. So when you arrive in May, towards the end of that week, you'll get your course schedule. And then once you have your course schedule, you can then purchase your books. You can do that at the bookstore on campus. You could also purchase those online. Most faculty know that you're getting your schedule, late in that week, and so they won't expect you to have those books day one. So there'll be a little bit of grace period for you to be able to do that. But the bookstore will be available for you to purchase those. You could also purchase them online if you prefer, but there's a whole process, and we'll go through that at orientation when you arrive. All right, let's see if there's a few other folks in here. Lauren, did you have any you wanted to answer? Are you
Still looking. I answered some of them by typing. There's one in here. If you were just accepted fairly recently, congratulations. But it looks like you're still waiting for your Berkeley email and your OnePass. I would recommend reaching out to your admissions officer in the meantime, just to find out when you will get access to that information. It should be generated fairly quickly, but again, your admissions officer is really the best person to reach out to in the meantime.
Great. There's a question about transfer students and what you would need to take in terms of an ESPA exam and things like that. If you're transferring, it really depends on what program you're transferring in and how many credits you're transferring in. So if you are unsure, I would again reach out to your enrollment officer to talk to them about what steps you need to take. Typically, if you're transferring in and you've already done a lot of those core requirements, the Harmony and the ear trainings, things like that, then the ESPA might not be a requirement for you. But if you still need to take those courses, then it likely will be a requirement. So it really depends on your specific situation. So I would definitely reach out to your enrollment officer to clarify, because you don't want to miss it, but certainly you don't want to take it if you don't have to. So definitely I would check that out. All right, just taking a second there.
There's a few questions from students who are potentially arriving late for orientation. If you can't be here on time on the first day of May 16th, email us at nsfp@berkeley.edu and we'll work with you on a case-by-case basis, so you're still getting the information and still acclimating on time. So I'll again put our email into the chat box.
All right. Great. If you're looking to transfer credits, anything like that, and you haven't already sent those in, there is in that enrollment next steps checklist, there's a step there on how you can send us that information to make sure that those are accepted. So take a look there. Again, most of your pre-arrival tasks are managed by your enrollment officers. So if you have a question about that, it has information about who you need to speak with, but they'll be able to best direct you there. But it does tell you who you should send that information to and how you can send that to them to make sure you get credit for it if possible. All right, I think we have time for maybe one more question here. There's a few questions that are still outstanding. Again, housing questions, really, the housing team can best answer those for you. So if you have a question about roommates or how you select roommates or, you know, when to move in, any of those things, if you haven't got that information yet, you can reach out to housing@berkeley.edu. If for whatever reason you're not getting a response back, which, you know, you should be getting a response back, but if sometimes things happen, things go to spam, things get missed. So if you feel like you're not getting an answer, certainly reach out to us at nsfp@berkeley.edu, and we're happy to help to navigate that for you. In terms of the rest of the information, like I said, there's some of those outstanding things. We're still waiting to get you that information. We'll get that as soon as we're able to. If at any point, again, you don't know who to reach out to, you have a question, feel free to send that to us and we can help refer you to the right offices, right? Our office is here to be, you know, your agent in helping to navigate these situations. So we may not know the answer, but we can certainly get you connected to the right folks. So if you are still unsure about anything after this webinar, is it possible, Natalie, to put those slides back up on the screen, that last slide for us?
One moment, please.
Gotta love technology. It always makes it easier until it doesn't. But so Natalie will be putting that up for us shortly. If not, again, it's just NSFP. Perfect. So the email is nsfp@berkeley.edu. Again, we are here to help you. So if you don't know who to reach out to, we're a great resource for you. If it's any of those pre-arrival things, again, that check-in restrictions tab will have who you should reach out to about certain restrictions. But if you can't figure it out or you're stuck anywhere or you feel like you're not getting a response, we certainly are here to help you. So feel free to reach out. And that's for both families and students. And then if you have any other questions that we didn't get to today, please feel free to reach out to us now. We'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible on those. But otherwise, we just really want to say, you know, we're so excited to welcome you in a few weeks. It's like I said earlier, a perfect time to join us on the Boston campus. It's going to be a beautiful summer. Hopefully we'll have some great weather for you to get out and explore. I have some personal favorites of checking out some of the waterfront areas, going on some boat rides in the harbor, different things. If you're looking for some opportunities on how to do any of that stuff, feel free to come say hello during orientation. I'm excited to meet you all and to welcome you to campus. So super excited. If you think of anything else, let us know. Otherwise, we really appreciate it. Thanks again for joining us.
Great.
Lauren,
Thank you,
anything to
everyone.
wrap up?
No, I was just going to say this webinar was recorded. So if you want to watch it again, or if you missed any information, or you want to share it with someone who wasn't here, it will be added to our website next week. We'll get it closed captioned and then posted on our website probably by next Wednesday. Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we're so excited to see you in a few short weeks.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.